Hey everyone, welcome to today's video lesson, Unit 6.2. We just have a mini lesson today talking about scientific notation and how we multiply and divide those expressions. So we're going to apply exponent rules to this, and anywhere that we have coefficients in front of our scientific notation, we're going to use regular operations on those just like we've been doing. So multiply or divide those values. We're then going to add or subtract our powers of 10 because we're going to apply exponent rules to that. And then the very last step to our problem is to convert into proper scientific notation. So we know that that means our coefficient has to be in between 1 and 9. So sometimes we have to swoop our decimal point to make sure that our coefficient follow those rules. And when we adjust our coefficient, we also have to adjust our exponent. So let's take a look at a few of these problems. Okay, so for example number 1, my coefficients are 4.15 and 3. So this is a multiplication problem. So I'm going to multiply my coefficients using regular operations. And then my powers of 10, I'm going to apply my exponent rules. So multiply means we add the exponents. Okay, so it remains a base of 10, and it is to the 6th power. Now my coefficient is not following scientific notation rules, which means I have to adjust my decimal point. And I'm swooping this one space to the left so that my exponent, or so that my coefficient is now in between 1 and 9. And I have to also adjust the exponent so that I make sure the number has the same value. So when we move to the left, we're going to add however many spaces we swooped to our exponent. Okay, so I moved one decimal place, so I'm going to add 1 to my exponent. So this now becomes 10 to the 7th. When we evaluate these problems, we have to leave our numbers in scientific notation. So you may not write them out as these great big giant decimals in order to evaluate. Okay, example number 2 is a division problem. So we're going to divide our coefficients. We get 4.5. And in scientific notation, when we subtract our exponents, it's okay if we end up with a negative. So for division, you're always going to subtract the top minus the bottom. So I get 10 to the 2nd in this example. 4.5 follows scientific notation, so I don't need to adjust. And that's my final answer. Okay, let's just do a few more. All right, so I have another multiplication problem. So take your coefficients and multiply. So 3.01 times 2, 6.02 times 10 to the, and we're going to add our exponents. Just be careful of your signs. So -2 minus we have -5. Okay, 6 is in between 1 and 9, so that is fine, and we leave that the way that it is. Okay, and our last example is another division. So divide your coefficients. And remember, we're subtracting top minus bottom. So 7 minus -3. Just watch your signs, because this becomes plus. Okay, let's see if we can't do one more, because we have not adjusted in the other direction. Okay, so let's take a look at example number 5. So I'm going to divide those coefficients. And that gets me 0.9. Okay, times 10. And now I'm subtracting. Remember, always top minus bottom in scientific notation. So I get 3 minus -4, which is +7. Okay, so the sign of the exponent in the final answer doesn't matter. It could be positive or negative. You want to just make sure you're careful of your positives and your negatives when you're completing the operation. All right, now my coefficient is not in scientific notation, which means that I'm going to have to swoop. Okay, I'm going to need to move the decimal. So I'm going to go 1 to the right. So now this becomes 9, or you could say 9.0. And we're going to have to adjust our exponent. Okay, so we're going to do the opposite of what we did before. Okay, so when we move to the left, we added. Okay, when we move to the right, we're going to subtract. So I moved 1 decimal point to the left, so I'm going to subtract 1. Okay, so that my final exponent is 10 to the 6th. Okay, so we could write this down. So when we adjust okay, so when we swoop our decimal point to the left, we're going to add to our exponent. And when we swoop to the right, we're going to subtract. Okay? And remember, you add or subtract however many decimal places you swooped. All right, so that is our mini lesson for scientific notation. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time.